Hello, YouTube. My name is Kate, and I'm just gonna give you a short, semi-short review on the Parker Haunted House here in North Texas. It's in Denton, Texas. I wanted to give a review because I volunteered there last year, and I finally got to walk through it this year. And I had noticed that when I've searched for Texas haunted houses on YouTube, that nothing really seems to show up, nothing recent. So I wanted to make a video that might help people that are interested in the Parker Haunted House and other haunted houses. After this, I will record my dark hour review if I can do all of this quickly enough, because I have an actual Zoom meeting after this. Homework. So for context, I'm 21 years old. I have always loved Halloween, all of the above. Movies, just there's a magic to Halloween, and I've always loved it. The spookiness, I always enjoyed people trying to scare me. I loved people's costumes, fantastic makeup, just all of the above. I finally started watching scary movies about 3 years ago or so. And so I've really gotten into slasher films, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street. I saw that for the first time this year. Friday the 13th. There's a lot of them. It's a very fun genre. And so I've been going to haunted houses for, since I was a teenager, as long as I've been allowed to. When I was 8, I actually lived in Louisville. I live in Denton right now, and I wanted to go to a haunted house that was on Main Street, and it actually turned out to be the Parker Haunted House before they moved to Denton. So that was really funny. That's really coincidental. I was not allowed to go to that haunted house because I was 8, but I think I would have enjoyed it. So I was finally able to go this year, and I volunteered last year. I enjoyed volunteering. It was a good time. For the most part, I helped to set up, put together some decorations. I painted these neon. I painted neon on these blue barrels for the zombie outbreak part of it, because the Parker Haunted House is an outside maze, because of COVID, and you can also buy tickets to do the zombie outbreak, and that's where you get in a bus and you shoot at zombies with paintballs. I've never done that. I didn't do that this year. So I volunteered there. I actually only did 2 nights because I didn't like being out so late. And the first time I volunteered for a night, I ended up asking to go home earlier, the next time, because I was like, 11:30 is too late. There's nobody here. There were some weird walkie-talkie issues, some weird communication issues. So I was all the way in the back of this maze, farthest part of the property. This is a haunted house that's built from scratch. And it looks amazing. It looks great. And I was all the way in the back, and there was something wrong with the walkie-talkies. And I was like, can I just go through the door and look for somebody? And everybody was like, no, we can't leave. We cannot leave. If there's people, then we don't want to be seen. And I was like, it's late and we haven't heard anything. There's nobody here. And I looked out the door and there's nobody there at all. And and they weren't letting me leave. And I was like, I'm 20 years old. I'm a grown adult. I'm not getting paid. Issue I'm going to talk about in a second. I'm going to leave if I want to. You cannot keep me here. I was in a group of teenagers, and they were trying to abide by the rules, but I was like, I'm going to leave if I want to. And so that was another issue, is that they did not pay their actors very well. I didn't get paid. They told me, this is your first year, we're not going to pay you. I guess for loyalty, to get you to stay. I don't know. They told me, this is your first year, you're not going to get paid, but if you work every day this year, the next year you can get paid $7.50 an hour. And I was like, minimum wage. That doesn't sound good to me. But also like pay your actors, man. Like I don't it haunted houses are not supposed to be about loyalty. Like, oh, I want you to be here for the next several years. That's ideal, I guess, but you do kind of want teenagers for actors, and eventually they're going to grow out of it because hopefully they're off doing college things or eventually get married, things like that. I'm married and I was like, I want to go home, not be out too late. So I was like, please pay your actors. They're working hard. They are what makes the money. Like they are so energetic. They care. They want you to have the best time. They want to make sure you're safe. Also, they're teenagers, and so they're just fun. They're a good time to be around. I loved the group that I was working with, the area I was in. Yeah, and so the other problem I have is that they don't have bathrooms. They don't have running water, they don't have bathrooms. They've got these two derelict trailers, and I don't think there's no running water. There are stairs sets that go between them, and then you walk across the grass and you go up the stairs. And I was told oh, some of the stairs are really old and they break really easily. So be careful where you step or you might go through it. And I was like, why can't you afford more stairs or build some? It's just wood, not even painted stairs. It's just wood put together. I was like, why is this like this? Why are there no bathrooms if you guys are making bank? And they should be. This place is amazing and it's pretty cheap. It was $20, cheap. You do get a lot of people because you're cheap. Although Dark Hour is still making bank, despite costing more. More on that later. Yeah, and so I just was like, what's going on? I only worked 2 nights because I was like, I want to go home. I was feeling sick for another part of that time, and my other excuses, I just kind of had flimsy excuses, but mostly I didn't want to go because there were no bathrooms, and that's just as a girl, seriously, please. They had told me oh, if you need to go and you don't go to the front because there are only porta potties, then there's a tarp, go past the tarp, and it's just a dirt area, and it's all closed off by walls and tarp, I guess. And something about there are 3 poles and there's a hole, I don't know. All of that is a no for me. And so so I just would try to avoid that as much as I could. But there was one time where this is not related, but related to going to the front of the area of the property. I had to go to my car one time to put something in it. I think I was changing some of my costume, and I was wearing all black, had a black cape. It's all my clothes, all my stuff. And they had put black makeup around my eyes because I was wearing a skull mask and there was a gap, in the mask. And so we wanted to put black around my eyes so that it would be covered, right? Like Batman. And so I was going to my car and it came back, and I had passed the cars that were in line, because you drive up and then ideally you get into the parking lots, but cars were just waiting there because there was no room and they hadn't opened the haunted house at the time. It wasn't open yet. And so I walked to my car and I come back, and this lady, the one of the ticket ladies, was getting on to me. She was like, we don't want the actors to be seen in their makeup and costume. And I was like, why? They should be walking around. That's what Dark Hour does, and it makes people so excited. That's a part of the adventure, part of the experience, when somebody's walking around and they're in this amazing costume and they're trying to scare people, and people are taking pictures and then they post that, and that's great. That's how you do the media presence. That's a great way to go. But they did not allow that. They were like, we want nobody in costume to be seen outside of the haunted house. It's a maze, haunted maze. So I definitely feel like they should change that rule. So my biggest things were the bathrooms, that weird rule, and they just need to pay their actors. because the problem that I saw this year when I walked through was that they needed actors. There were actors and they were fantastic, but they needed more. That's how you get your spooks and your scares. And there were not enough of them. Oh my gosh. Like there were so many places where I was like, there's this wide open area and there's one actor. Like there were probably tops 4 people in the forest, right? And it was a fairly large area, like large, long trail in the forest. And I was like, y'all need some people. Y'all need to bring in some people, advertise that like crazy because y'all need it. But they do a great job. And the place looks amazing. Like their setup, their decorations, it all looks legit. It all looks very authentic. They told me that they do get a lot of their objects from funeral homes, mortgage, not mortgage, mortars. What's the word I'm looking for? The morgue, that's the word. From like those kind of places, they donate them, or they Parker Haunted House buys them. So it's a pretty good setup. Looks very real, because a lot of it is. I have a drinking problem. So then the other thing is that they have a house. They have like an actual haunted house building. It looks really cool, and you have to like walk across this bridge to get to the maze, and you see this grand like haunted house. You don't get to go inside it. They don't use it right now because of fire code issues that they need to update, but you can see it, and I'll post a picture somewhere around here. So hopefully in the future we'll get to see that because it looks really cool on the outside. But yeah, so my friend and I went to this haunted house, and we were going to park at the Parker Haunted House until we saw the long line going all the way like down 380. Cars are just stacking up. And afterwards, actually, there was a cop who was talking to somebody who worked at the haunted house, and they were like, hey, can you find a way to move cars, like so they're not down all the way down the highway blocking it? So that was interesting. I also have a picture of the cop car in front of the Parker Haunted House sign, and it's great. It was a good time. We parked across the streets. There's not a lot of parking in this area. It's kind of middle of almost nowhere, country, highway, road. And so ironically, we parked in front of a tow truck area, yard. And there was one other car there. I don't know if they went to the haunted house or not. I just know that there were people in that car. Don't know what they were doing, but it's fine. And so we walk across the highway, or run across the highway, and we go to the haunted house, we buy our tickets, and we were only waiting for about 20 minutes, which was nice. Because at dark hour, my friend and I ended up waiting for about 3 hours. Totally worth it though. Different video. I'll talk about the dark hour haunted house. And so we waited for about 20 minutes. There was this like really terrible werewolf movie from the 80s called The Silver Bullet. And I also took like a picture of it, of the screen when the movie ended. It was a terrible werewolf. Oh my gosh. I recommend, what's that movie? Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox. That's really funny. Anyway, so we're in this line, we're talking about Star Wars and stuff. Finally, we get to the front of the line, and they let us in, and then you just start walking around. And that was a lot of fun. Their setup, it really is amazing. Just very real feeling. They've got great music, really good lighting. They do sometimes use strobe lights, so be warned if like you have a problem with that. One of the parts of the experience that we had that was unique to us was that this group of 14-year-olds, it was like 3 boys and 4 girls, I think, or it might have been 4 boys and 3 girls. They were at first behind us in line, and then we go through, and they were a part of our group, right? Because they like separate into groups as you go through the haunted house. And so they were behind us, and they were terrified of everything. Any person, any actor that came up to them, they're screaming and they're pushing against us. And so eventually we were like, get in front of us, just go. And they were like, no, please no, like we're too scared, like I don't want to go first. And we were like, no, go in front of us. And it was a good time to watch them just get totally terrified. This place is not so terrifyingly traumatizing as they made it out to be. Like, be careful if you bring kids, but like some teenagers will be fine, some won't be. Adults, you know, it just depends on like how scared you get, but this is not like a traumatizing place. This is not an extreme haunted house. The actors don't even touch you. And so they kept pushing us, and then they were in front. And because they were in front, they still kept stopping and holding us back. And then there were several times they kept holding up the line. And eventually we made it to the forest part of the maze. And this hillbilly, you know, Southern guy with an accent, he stops us and he gets us in this circle. And he, and so he stops us and he was trying to get us to do something. He wants somebody to put their head in this barrel, and all these teenagers won't do it. None of the guys would do it. And I was like, none of them are gonna man up. Okay. They're all terrified. And this one girl was so super scared, and he chose her to be the volunteer. And she's like, I can't do it. Don't make me do it. Like, I can't do it. And he's like, you know, he's totally messing with them. But this kept going on, where they couldn't stop screaming at, you know, with each other. They couldn't stop talking. They couldn't stop like fidgeting and freaking out. And eventually he was like, okay, like stop. He like drops the accent, and he's telling us, my friend and I, that we can go in front. We can just go. And at first we were like, oh, like, no, we want to watch. We want to see how this goes. And he's like, you can go if you want to. And then he's still trying to do this gimmick and scare them. And it's not working because they are not stopping. They're not like able to focus because they're so freaked out for no reason. And like eventually he had dropped everything, dropped his accent, and he just gets onto them and he's yelling at them. He's like, y'all can't even stop for 1 second so I can do my thing. Like, you know what? Like, just go. Like, I'm done. That's it. Just go. You don't get to see whatever it was. And he made them go. And somehow they ended up getting in front of us again. So that was an error on our part, maybe. But yeah, and so it was worth it to see them get in trouble. That was really funny. If any of them see this, I'm sorry. Just, that was hilarious. Man up next time. It was not a terrifying haunted house, at least for me and for normal people that have ever seen a scary movie. And so they got in front of us, and this girl, this actor in like a Victorian dress, she's got like blood like dripping from her eyes and stuff. She looked great. She comes up to us and she's like, hey. And I'm like, hey, like, what's up? You know, because I love the actors. And she's like, hey, is that like the group in front of you? Are they the ones that are holding up the line? And we're like, yeah, they're like super scared. Please scare them. And she's like, okay, you know, thank you. And she follows them the rest of the time, like whole time. It was so good. She followed them up until they got in line for the paintball, like the zombie paintball parts, and we like passed them, and we were like, all right, they got an escort because they couldn't like keep the line going. Yeah, so I'm trying to hurry because I have a Zoom meeting. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. Their setup was amazing. They just really need actors. I mean, towards the end, you did have somebody with like you know, a cliche like chainsaw, which I love. That's a good thing to include, but you needed more clowns. You needed more actors in every part of this haunted house. But I definitely recommend going to it if you're like, I want to be spooked or I want to see these cool decorations. I recommend not parking there. It's worth it to walk wherever you're coming from. Not from like your house, but it's worth it to find parking somewhere else along 380. Because they need to expand their parking. But yeah, so in the next video, I'll talk about Dark Hour. I love Dark Hour. Dark Hour is my favorite haunted house that I've been to. I've never been to Cutting Edge, but I hope to go there soon because that's like the longest haunted house in Texas. Other thing about Parker Haunted House, We were waiting for about 20 minutes. The walkthrough was about 20 minutes, in case you're wondering how long it is. So it's worth it to pay the $20, waiting 20 minutes if you get there early enough. And then it's a good walkthrough. That's a pretty long time when you're just walking and you're getting scared and whatever. So I definitely recommend it. I give it like 7 out of 10 stars. They have a lot of improvements that need to be made, but if they can make those improvements, that would be amazing. If they had, good conditions for their actors and pay their actors, they could get a lot more actors from nearby high schools, people in the area, and that would just help them out a lot and bring in even more people. It's already like a local haunted house, so people in the area go, but like there are things that they can do to make it to like a next level, like Dark Hour Haunted House. So hopefully this video isn't too long. Hopefully this helped somebody or gave people information. If anybody has like questions or comments, like I totally welcome that. I want to hear what people think, or things that I need to improve on, anything. So thank you for watching, especially if you made it to the end, and stay tuned for the next video if you're interested. Happy Halloween.